Hello, and welcome to this week's Movie Math, where they've been saying for a couple of years now that Halloween has become as popular and as lucrative a holiday as Christmas, with some folks even preferring Halloween to Christmas. Which camp are you in? Camp Christmas or Camp Halloween? I think it's safe to say that Hollywood is actually in Camp Halloween because they use Christmas for all their awards movies. But hoo boy, are they making a lot of money off of Halloween. Trick or treat indeed. With both The Conjuring 4 and Wednesday Season 2 making big headlines this week, big screen and small, and it's only early September. You know, I went to Lilac Chocolates the other day at Hudson Yards, and they had their Halloween. I wouldn't be surprised if they had their Christmas chocolate out already, but they had their Halloween chocolate out already. Did I buy some? Yes, I did. All right, so let's start with the big screen discussion, where The Conjuring 4 is exorcising Hollywood's box office demons. Begone streaming, back to the depths of hell from which you came. The power of good movies, I thought The Conjuring 4 was good, compels you to go to your local multiplex. And go to people's local multiplex they did, with The Conjuring 4 opening with 80 million domestic. That was the global debut prediction going into the weekend. But bam! It did 187 global. 100 million more than was predicted. Oh my God, that's so much money! Ho, 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 the business sure could use it. Overseas, just overseas, that's the biggest debut ever for a horror movie. Worldwide, everybody, the whole planet Earth, it's the second biggest. And domestic, it's the third biggest behind the two It movies, of course, all from Warner Brothers. Yes, Warner Brothers. Let's talk about Zazzy's current hot streak. My God, what a turnaround for Warner Brothers. I mean, this is epic. What a thing to witness. And for once, history isn't being made by Disney. This is their 8th number one opening of the year and their 7th movie to open north of 40 million. I think thanks a lot, Mickey 17, right? But as I said, that's a Hollywood record that has not been made by Disney. So this makes it all the more shocking that at the last minute, Warner Brothers has decided to push Mortal Kombat 2 to May 2026 because it surely would have continued their 2025 winning streak. Now look, I've made my peace, well, kind of, with the movie going to May. And maybe May will be a great date. At this point, we should let Warner Brothers cook. They clearly seem to know what they're doing. But man, this surprise success coming out of nowhere for The Conjuring 4, it does make me think back to this Mortal Kombat 2 decision. And I think it's too late, but I wonder if it's making Warner Brothers think or rethink a little bit as well. Here's the situation. So, Mortal Kombat 2 was supposed to come out October 24th of this year, right? Right before Halloween. And it was tracking to do huge business. It was tracking so big that Warner Brothers was like, we might have a summer blockbuster on our hands. Let's put it there. And that's why they moved it. But now there's a gaping hole in the 2025 October release schedule. Sure, Predator Badlands is hitting theaters 2 weeks later on November 7th. But because this year Halloween falls on a Friday, and people typically don't go to the movies for Halloween. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how it being on a Friday would affect the whole weekend. And I think Mortal Kombat really plays into Halloween quite well. So, we'll never know how it would have performed. But it would have had 2 weekends with very little competition, if any. And it would have had premium screens for those 2 weekends. I mean, Back to the Future is getting an IMAX re-release, but if Mortal Kombat 2 had been doing really well, Back to the Future would have had to share those IMAX screens. But now, with its new date, after just 1 week, it's going to lose all of its premium screens to The Mandalorian and Grogu. Disney ain't giving up those premium screens. They're like the mob when it comes to dealing with movie theaters and booking screens. I mean, if this was like a Moana type movie, like a real family play, maybe Mortal Kombat 2 could wrestle away the 2 evening showtimes in, let's say, Dolby. But Mandalorian and Grogu is supposed to be a 4-quadrant film, so Disney ain't giving up any showtimes on any premium screens, certainly not opening weekend. I mean, we'll see, but I think it's highly unlikely. Now, Warner Brothers just has one more movie left this year. Isn't that amazing? One battle after another. I mean, Warner Brothers is currently the top performing studio of the year, but they just have this one movie left now. Disney will, I'm sure, obliterate them. Disney, they always come back. Disney will obliterate them by the end of the year because the mouse has saved all of their big movies for some shock and awe action in the fourth quarter. They're going for a blitz, and a blitz I think they have. I actually saw One Battle After Another on Friday morning. They're really positioning it. They're getting out ahead for the awards crowd. I'm Critics' Choice, so they really wanted to get it in front of us. I can tweet about it late tomorrow night, and the review embargo lifts on September 17th for a September 26th release. And I gotta say, I looked at the release schedule. One Battle After Another doesn't have a lot of competition that weekend, so it could open at number 1. But I don't think it's gonna open north of 40 million, so that will end that streak. Anyway, it's just weird that with all this momentum, which again, Mortal Kombat 2 could have capitalized on, that Warner Brothers at the last minute decided to move it to summer, which is a show of confidence for sure, but now we don't have a Halloween movie. But the decision has been made. Has it? Yeah, it has, right? And again, Warner Brothers has been making a lot of great decisions lately. I mean, they clearly know how to launch a movie. Maybe they'll take down Star Wars. You know, it's crazy times that we live in. You never know. So we'll find out in 7 months if they made the right call when it comes to Mortal Kombat 2. But what do you think? I mean, hey, in Hollywood, you never know. Look at The Conjuring. This, 10 movies in, was supposed to be the end. Like, Hollywood, hey, we all thought that The Conjuring can run its course. But now? Ain't no way that Warner Brothers, Peter Safran, James Wan, and Jason Blum, who merged companies with Wan, are gonna let the Warrens retire. Matt Rife, new owner of the Warrens estate, be damned. I mean, they can certainly now afford to cut him a check. Maybe Matt Rife made a really good purchase. This is the biggest opening ever for the franchise. And in fact, it opened bigger than Sinners, Weapons, and Final Destination Bloodlines, like almost close to double some of those openings. And it even opened bigger than Marvel's Thunderbolts and the latest Mission Impossible movie. Ka-ching! Wow, it sure scared up a lot of cash. My goodness. Now, sure, it got a lower cinema score than usual for the franchise. Well, for the main Conjuring movies. But that's an easy fix. Just get a real director next time. I mean, hey, I think this is the best job that Michael Chavez has done, and I think his directorial skills are improving exponentially. But a lot of fans still felt this entry was lackluster. I mean, you can't argue with these scores. So keep Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga and get a new, experienced director. Chavez came onto this franchise for La Llorona, but with never having directed a movie. And yet, for some reason, James Wan kept him around for now 4 movies, although The Nun 2 did make bank. In Hollywood, it's a lot about who you know, but that can be a negative sometimes because sometimes executives and producers forget that it's show business, not show friends. So would you make another Conjuring movie, or do you feel they made you a promise? Do you think this being supposedly the last one played into its success? I don't think that did, because I don't think any of us believe it's the last one. I don't know. I mean, it did have a kind of finality to it when you watched the movie, but not in the ad campaign. And so if you made another one, would you get another director? Or, since he's making so much money, would you keep Chavez? Hollywood is reluctant to change what's working. I mean, that's not a bad rule for anybody. But people really, the audience scores are not great. And hoo boy, current political climate be damned, Hispanic and Latino audiences showed up in a big way for this movie. They blew every other demo out of the water. And also, women showed up for this movie. It did very well with women, which Hollywood has been struggling with as well, except for a few key movies here and there. And then it lit up the sweet spot, 18 to 34. Wow! As I said in my review, and thanks to Warner Brothers, by the way, for pulling a quote from one of their online ads, I think the real strength of this franchise continues to be, in addition to the scares, I mean, horror is really hot right now, but its strong focus on family and religion. That's what sets it apart from other horror franchises, and I think it's why it has such a strong, broad appeal across the entire globe. Really, I would not underestimate the importance of the family and religion aspects here. And if Hollywood was smart, if other producers were smart, they would maybe try to play that up in other franchises and other genres. Also, James Wan knocked it out of the park with casting. Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga are the perfect Ed and Lorraine Warren. By the way, online I saw fellow Scooper viewer Anon have a great idea for another Conjuring movie. Go Ryan Murphy style, right? And have Wilson and Farmiga playing the Warrens when they're older on the set of a Hollywood movie about them, where, they're dealing with other actors playing them. I think that's very clever. So viewer Anon, I hope that James Wan sees your tweet. What would be your idea, again, for another Conjuring movie? And does the franchise need to keep Wilson and Farmiga? When I saw the film, as I said in my review, I was thinking maybe streaming series focusing on the daughter and son-in-law, which seemed to be the direction they were pushing things. But with this much money, we're keeping it in theaters. And I don't think those two actors are strong enough for theatrical. Speaking of making money at the multiplex, AMC just dropped a Slash Pass. I think this is a great idea. So, maybe it's not perfect, but at least they're trying. As we've been discussing, it's all about making going to the movies seem like an event. And I think this helps. 6 movie tickets for $66.66. Oh, that you can use just yourself, 6 tickets for yourself, or you can treat you and some of your friends. And 16 horror movies all the way through December are eligible to use with this pass. Now, when I tweeted about this yesterday, some of you said, well, why not just use your AMC A-list? Well, not everyone wants to get that, as we've seen. And that's a long-term commitment, whereas this is short-term. Or you can get both. You can keep your AMC A-list and then get points on the purchase for this. I don't know about you, but I rack up a lot of points. I'm always getting $5 coupons off of stuff. However, if you want to see one of these horror movies on a premium screen, there would be a slight surcharge for that. It's not like A-list where it's no extra cost. But premium screens are all the rage. 40% of the Conjuring 4's audience went to see it on a premium screen. I always go premium when I can. I think it makes a big difference. And hey, if you're not going to watch it at home, you shouldn't watch it at home. And I think premium theaters are a better experience. And I think, the audience tends to be a little bit more, excited to be there because they also value the premium experience. I just much prefer it. And that's why build the more premium screens. AMC said they're going to do it, but it sure is taken forever. As I said, the AMC Slash Pass might not be perfect, but it's nice to see the theatrical space trying. Clean your bathroom. Clean the theater. Make sure people are, nobody interrupts the movie-going experience. It's one thing to put that pre-show announcement, but it's another to enforce it. But yeah, I'm excited to see Hollywood working to compete with the home theater experience. Are you going to get this pass? As for the rest of the top 10, there was another new release this weekend, Hamilton, which Disney finally put on the big screen as they had intended to do right before the pandemic. And then, of course, they had to pivot to Disney+, where Hamilton has been available for years now and even longer on Broadway. And in fact, Hamilton is still available on Disney+ and Broadway right now. And it still pulled in $10 million, just like Jaws did last weekend. That's very impressive and has Hollywood murmuring that maybe Disney might still make that movie version of Hamilton, not just a filmed version of the Broadway show. Because interest is still clearly very high. But that's easier said than done. They brought the musical version of The Color Purple to the big screen, and that flopped. I really thought it was good, but it did very poorly. And then also, In the Heights, of course, went to the silver screen, also from Lin-Manuel Miranda, flopped. So what do you do with Hamilton? Do you keep the same cast, even though people have seen that cast so many times at this point? And then the pull for a movie is like actual sets instead of the abstract ones from Broadway? Or would that ruin it? Or do you maybe go in the other direction and get bigger stars who can sing like they did with Wicked, right? How would you turn Hamilton into like a movie? And would you turn Hamilton into a movie? Meanwhile, with holdovers, Weapons and Freakier Friday are still holding up. Although Weapons, now at $250 worldwide, Super Weapons fans, it did catch up with Get Out, but it's actually hitting digital this Tuesday. Freakier Friday, of course, will take longer because Disney's big into preserving the theatrical window. But last weekend's new releases, Caught Stealing in the Roses, both took big hits in their second weekends, and they had already opened on the low end. So in fact, neither one, weekends out, has yet to hit 20 million domestic. Ouch. They'll be on digital very soon, I think. As for our superhero watch, both Superman and Fantastic Four are still in the top 10 and are both still about 100 million apart from each other. I don't think their numbers are going to change significantly beyond what you see now. As for all the money Jaws made last weekend, number 2, but it was more of an event than like an ongoing thing, because in its second weekend, even though it's still playing in a lot of theaters, it dropped 90% and fell out of the top 10. But hey, it was a re-release of a 1975 movie. It was all gravy. Same for Hamilton, by the way, actually. They literally took what's playing on Disney Plus and put it up on the big screen. Bam! Extra $10 million. Now we move over to streaming, starting with Nielsen per usual, this time for early August. And for all the complaining that we like to do about Netflix's new strategy of breaking up seasons, we all still tune in. Look at Wednesday Season 2 Part 1's numbers. That's almost 4 billion minutes. Look how it makes all the other minutes look tiny. Although remember, on Nielsen, this also includes rewatches of Season 1. But that's okay, because streaming services don't make a discerning difference either. Because you're a distinction. That's the word I was looking for. Because you're not paying a la carte. As long as you're watching, that means you're subscribed. And either you're a top tier subscriber, or if you're even a lower subscriber tier with ads, look at all the commercials you must be watching. Although I'm hearing more and more complaints about commercial breaks. I've seen it in particular for Alien Earth, interestingly enough. So they better be careful, because it truly is just turning into what we had before. Only now you pay so much more for it. Hollywood's like, ha. All right, so Wednesday is clearly a crown jewel for Netflix. However, despite these impressive numbers, I hope that they do admit to at least themselves that they kind of messed up this season. Part 2 is far better than Part 1. It's like night and day. It's ridiculous how much better it is. And this Wendy's promotion was genius, but they didn't push it enough. I was like, where was that when Part 1 came out? I think it might have existed, but I didn't see it. Look, surprise hit K-pop Demon Hunters, still going, by the way. We're going to talk about it when we get to Netflix's charts. But it clearly drank Wednesday's purple milkshake, as we've already discussed. But I hope that Netflix will take better care of Wednesday Season 3, which has been greenlit, but probably won't come until 2027, as it hasn't even started. I don't even think they've started writing it yet, much less film it. Yikes, another long break. Although, maybe these breaks work if they create pent-up demand. I'm very nervous about how, for instance, Avatar 3 is going to do, since it hasn't been nearly as long a break as between Avatar 1 and 2. So maybe as much as we complain about the breaks, I don't know, it's hard. Sometimes it works, sometimes they take too long and people don't come back. But they came back for Squid Game. I think they're going to come back for Stranger Things. People so far do come back. And now that you've seen the good half of Wednesday Season 2, how do you feel now about these long breaks in between seasons? On the originals chart, Leanne might be already off the overall chart. She was just number 10 last week, but she's still pretty high up here on the originals chart. Come on, Season 2 renewal. I really need it. Meanwhile, Hunting Wives, Untamed, and Ballad are all still doing good numbers. And I'm seeing a lot of people talking about The Summer I Turned Pretty with Season 3. So Prime Video might have something there as well. As for movies, I think this is K-pop Demon Hunters' first number 1 on Nielsen's charts. They only cover the US with Nielsen. While Eddie Murphy, Pete Davidson, and Keke Palmer only did okay numbers with their new movie on Prime Video. I mean, it's number 2 here, but it couldn't even make the overall chart. Over on Netflix's charts for last week, not the week right before that we just experienced when Wednesday Season 2 Part 2 just dropped, but the week before that. And therefore, Season 2 Part 1 actually slipped to 3rd place right before Part 2 dropped, with Hostage remaining steady at number 2 and My Life with the Walter Boys edging that out for a soft number 1. But Wednesday, I think, obviously next week when we see for the previous week, will surge yet again. And then maybe that'll get it into the all-time chart, because so far, with just Part 1, Season 2 hasn't cracked it just yet. But really, as I just said, Part 2 is vastly superior. I think my favorite episode, and I think it's actually not just a great episode of Wednesday, but just a great episode of television and storytelling, period, is the Wednesday and Enid Freaky Friday episode. That was really phenomenal. And as I tweeted the other day, Wednesday has managed to do Gotham City Sirens before DC. Some of you are saying Powerpuff Girls, but I'm seeing Gotham City Sirens. But either way, James Gunn, as you can see, this is a great idea. I still can't believe Margot Robbie went Birds of Prey instead of Gotham City Sirens. Oh my gosh. Talk about a fork in the road of Hollywood history. Imagine a world where she'd made the right decision. Who advised her on that? All right, so anyway, I can't believe someone was like, you're not even supposed to be on Birds of Prey. How is this even a choice? All right, with movies, not only is K-pop Demon Hunter still #1, but it has not slowed down. In fact, it's picking up its pace and is pulling further and further ahead on the overall chart for all time. I think it might reach 300 million views. I mean, it's not only fun to see, but it's going to make it more and more difficult for any other movie to be able to catch it. Until K-pop Demon Hunters 2, ho 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 ho. And Chris Columbus's Thursday Murder Club is right behind it with a very strong debut. If it can keep these numbers up for a week or two, we'll get a sequel. Now, the critic and audience scores are not great, but I thought it was a cute movie, and I think the mistakes that it made are obvious and easily fixable. So I would like a sequel. How about you? I think it's good family viewing. But I did not care for Nobody 2, which I watched on digital this weekend. I knew they were going to Home Alone that water park, and I've seen too many franchises go Home Alone at this point. Also, I'm tired of 87 North or 8711. Their movies all look the same at this point. I find it really frustrating. I'm sure Naked Gun and Nobody 2 are, speaking of drinking someone else's milkshake, or drinking each other's milkshake, and therefore F1 and Superman are still on the top. 28 years later is still managing to place on the chart, and it's doing pretty well on digital. It's been on here for a long time. But still, nobody had any interest in that trailer when it dropped this week for the next movie that's coming out already in January. That's interesting. You know, we were just talking about the importance of breaks to make people miss, the franchise. Maybe some people were like, cool, the next one's coming out so soon, but maybe that'll end up being an issue. And then also, I think a lot of people, even though they're watching it, didn't care for 28 years later. So barring some January surprise, who knows, maybe we'll get surprised. But I don't think they're going to make that planned third movie that they were talking about. They jinxed it. They never should have mentioned it. As for this coming weekend, no grace period for The Conjuring 4, speaking of 4 new movies are hitting theaters, as well as awards contender The History of Sound in New York and Los Angeles. We'll see how The Conjuring 4 holds up against all that competition. Good thing it made so much money opening weekend. Then Toy Story, speaking of re-releases, it's getting a 30th anniversary re-release, with some rumors online that Disney might drop a teaser trailer for Toy Story 5. I'll believe it when I see it. I haven't heard anything about that. I mean, we'll keep an eye out for it. It makes sense. But it seems crazy to drop something this early for a June 2026 release. And if you're gonna drop something super early, why would it be in front of a Toy Story re-release, which is only playing on a couple of screens, when you could drop it in front of Zootopia 2 in just 2 months, which is expected to be a global box office juggernaut. So we'll see. Then on digital on Tuesday, as I said, we're getting Weapons, while on streaming, Netflix has a Charlie Sheen documentary on Wednesday and a Miranda Cosgrove Hallmark-style rom-com on Friday. Then with shows, Only Murders in the Building Season 5 kicks off with 3 episodes this Tuesday. The review embargo for that lifts tomorrow. Well, Prime Video drops the entire season of The Girlfriend on Wednesday. Pretty amazing cast for that. I wonder why they're not promoting it more. And Netflix has Season 2 of Beauty in Black on Thursday. And that's this week's movie math. What have you been watching? What do you plan to watch? And what do you think of The Conjuring 4's surprise mega success? What does it mean for the franchise? What does it mean for Warner Brothers? What does it mean for the horror genre? And what does it mean for Hollywood? Share those thoughts down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.